The shadow campaign may be upon us. And what is that, you ask? Well, you know what Donald Trump doing as well as he's doing, despite the convictions, they're saying he raised over $200 million since they found him guilty. Many people are wondering if he's surging so much in the polls. Americans overwhelmingly want Donald Trump. He's raking in all this money. What are Democrats planning to do to win? Some are actually suggesting the real conspiracy is that it was supposed to be Trump the whole time. And they're making him out to be a victim so that you all support him. Yeah, no. I think there's another shadow campaign afoot. And it may be related to non-citizens becoming citizens. The breaking report from the New York Post: Biden admin offers mass amnesty to migrants as it quietly terminates 350,000 asylum cases. Do you know what that means? It means that when these people illegally enter the country, they say, okay, what's your name? What's your number? We're going to set up a case for you. Have a nice day. Come back for your asylum hearing to make sure you qualify. Then they crumple up the paper and throw it in the garbage. And that person is now in this country forever. Why does that matter? Maybe the shadow campaign isn't for this year. I don't know. They're saying, NPR says, and I pulled up the data on this, 3.5 million new citizens have entered this country, have been naturalized in the past 4 years, which, well, more than half will favor Joe Biden. But the issue with the amnesty cases, it's nothing to do with these people voting. Now, many people on the right will say illegal immigrants are going to vote. Maybe. There have been instances, and I don't know to what degree it could scale up, but there have been instances where non-citizens have voted because they got an ID or something and then it registered them to vote and they did. Sometimes they get caught. The question is it going to be millions, and will it directly impact the election? Well, that matters none, my friends, because the real issue is that when Democrats take these people and put them in cities, they are giving themselves extra congressional seats. And that's it. Extra congressional seats means extra electoral votes for president. So they don't need to vote because you don't vote for president. The individuals don't vote for president. The Electoral College does. So if they take 1 million illegal immigrants and put them in, I don't know, Austin gets an extra, maybe even 2 congressional seats, 2 extra electoral votes. And the funny thing is, those non-citizens can't vote. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself why it is that each district has 750,000 people, but only a couple 100,000 show up to vote? Now, of course, many people make the argument it's because people are lazy. They don't want to go out and vote, and they should, but they don't care. I believe that's probably true. But that accounts for what? A little bit more than half of the voters? So you've got 750,000 people. You got about 280K votes in a district. You get about 280K that we can say, or 300, don't really care. What are the rest? In these big cities, what are the rest? I have to wonder how many of the people who are in a district can't vote. And that means Democrats are going to win every single time, and they will give themselves extra votes. Now, the reality about this 3.5 million number, it's actually fairly common. Yeah, and with that, and with the fact that these people favor the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party only cares about getting more voters, the United States will dissolve if this trend stays the same. Let's start by reading this post from the New York Post. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com. Click join us to become a member and support the work we do here directly. If you're listening on Rumble, we would love it if you would become a member at timcast.com. On YouTube, we can get ad revenue. On Rumble, we don't. No disrespect to Rumble. We love Rumble. But if you're watching on Rumble because you believe in free speech, we want to make sure our shows are there. Then please go to timcast.com and support us directly so we can continue. The New York Post says, well, the Biden administration is attempting to look like it's getting tough on the border. Behind the scenes, it's operating a program of a mass amnesty for migrants, Post can reveal. Data shows that since 2022, more than 350,000 asylum cases filed by migrants have been closed by the U.S. government if the applicants don't have a criminal record or are otherwise not deemed a threat to the country. Yeah, that's what the libertarians call a Ellis Island style approach. Let them come on in and do whatever they want. We don't care about the economy. We don't care about regular working Americans' jobs. This means that while the migrants are not granted or denied asylum, their cases are terminated without a decision on the merits of their asylum claim. They are removed from the legal system and no longer required to check in with authorities. The move allows them to legally, indefinitely roam the U.S. without fear of deportation, effectively letting them slip through the cracks. Yes, but this means that they will count in the census. It means they are second-class citizens the Democrats will use for cheap, under-the-table labor and political power. The New York Post says, with a record number of people seeking asylum in the U.S., the Biden admin is increasingly just letting people go with no decision, meaning they aren't granted asylum, but not deported either. They're just allowed to stay in America with no status. Take a look at this. And the funny thing is, major spike. Huge spike under Joe Biden. Oh, who would have thought that? Take a look at this. The blue bar on this graph, there's three colors, green, blue, and red. Not adjudicated had gone way down during Donald Trump. Granted asylum actually did go up a little bit under Trump, but then started to dip down. And now ordered removed, which was massive under Trump, has dropped down, actually increased a little bit. So asylum granted and removal orders actually are both up, but not adjudicated is skyrocketing. They're literally just saying, come on in, we don't care. This is just a massive amnesty under the guise of prosecutorial discretion, according to Andrew Arthur, a former immigration judge who now works for the Center for Immigration Studies. You're basically allowing people who don't have a right to be in the U.S. to be here indefinitely, he added to the Post. ICE officers add they've seen an increase in cases of such migrants committing crimes after their asylum cases have been dismissed, forcing agents to restart removal proceedings, which typically takes years. Please let everyone know what's really going on, an ICE officer told the Post. In 2020, during the Trump administration, 48,000 migrants were ordered removed by the U.S. Immigration Court judges. Fewer than 20,000 people were granted asylum. And 4,700 people had their cases closed or were otherwise allowed to remain in the country, according to data collected by Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse. In 2022, under Biden, a memo issued by ICE legal advisor Carrie Dole and seen by the Post instructed prosecutors at the agency to allow cases to be dismissed for migrants who aren't deemed national security threats. So let's go through the numbers. We have big news. They say Biden executive action on the border could come as early as Tuesday. Really? I thought Biden didn't have any authority on the southern border and he couldn't do anything about it. Well, apparently he can. But I got bad news for y'all. His executive action is a lie meant to manipulate cultists and people who don't pay attention to the news. It's fascinating to me. It just really is hard when I see people like the Krasensteins or Kyle Kulinski or whatever. I just feel like they have to be intentionally lying, because I can't imagine people are that, let's just be very nice, lacking knowledge, very nice about it. Because I like Kyle, he's a nice guy, but they keep calling it, and I don't mean I'm talking about liberal pundits in general, but the left, Democrats, I shouldn't say the left so much, but the Democrats keep saying it's a border security bill. That Joe Biden's trying to bring security to the border, but the Republicans are stopping him. Biden's executive action would actually codify his plan, allowing non-citizens into the country, which makes no sense because we don't do that. Take a look at this. Politico says, President Joe Biden is set to sign a long-anticipated executive order as soon as Tuesday that would allow him to shut down the southern border should crossings surge, according to 4 people familiar with the administration's plans. While those people cautioned that plans are fluid, the expectation is that Biden will issue the order before heading to France in the middle of the week for a ceremony celebrating the 80th anniversary of D-Day. The order Biden is slated to announce would use Section 212F of the Immigration and Nationality Act to dramatically limit migrants' ability to seek asylum at the southern border once encounters reach a new threshold. Administration officials have discussed 4,000 daily border crossings over the course of a week as the metric. So let me just let me get this clear. Let me get this straight. Make this clear. 4,000 people can illegally cross the border. We're talking about Eagle Pass. We're talking about walking through the desert. We're not talking about people knocking on a door to port of entry and saying, I'd like to fill out a form and come to your country. 4,000 people will be allowed to enter in, and then they'll say, okay, quota. That is not border security. That is codification of illegal immigration. That is saying it's no longer illegal immigration. That is saying it is now legal immigration up to 4,000 people. Joe Biden is trying to permanently open the southern border. Amazing. The White House has long been eager to show more action on the border, a long-standing political weak spot for the president. It supported a bipartisan border security bill tied to Ukraine. This is absolutely incredible. You know what it is? Okay, here's the real issue. Uniparty establishment types know that our population growth has stalled. Fertility rates are in the gutter. Yep. And so they're concerned that by 2033, 7 years from now, Social Security may begin to unwind and collapse. By 2037, it is estimated that Social Security will be completely insolvent, save a mass injection of cash. Now, I'll overly simplify the whole issue for you. People are living longer, and they're not having kids. Currently, the way Social Security works, I think it's like $900 a month. That's given to older people who are on Social Security. $900 a month. How do you come up with that much money? Well, you've got to siphon it away from young people who do work. Younger people. So you've got a lot of young people, and they're paying the bills of older people through Social Security taxes. The only problem is there's no longer enough young people to pay those bills, which means they're going to have to increase the taxes. But sooner or later, young people will be taxed at 60, 70% of their labor, and they're not going to be able to live themselves. Or you don't tax them, Social Security becomes insolvent, and the older generation now has no money, and you get another major crisis. Tain't no easy answer here, is there? Well, for these people, they say just let as many non-citizens into the country as possible, and then that will bolster the tax base. That's really it, isn't it? I think so. Now, Texas has announced a permanent presence on the southern border. This is just coming just a couple days ago, as they mentioned that they've deported migrants to D.C., New York, Chicago, Philly, Denver, and L.A. To huge numbers, 12,500 D.C., 45K to New York, 36,500 to Chicago, 3,400 to Philly, 19,000 to Denver, 1,500 to L.A. Operation Lone Star continues to fill the dangerous gaps created by the Biden administration's refusal to secure the border. It's going to keep happening. Biden's going to sign some executive order and say, we're doing it anyway. We are going to allow 4,000 people. He's going to say, everybody come on down, line up. It is official and legal. It's not, but that's what he'll do. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you to Shadow Campaign 2024. NPR reports it's not just young voters. New citizens will head to the polls this year, too. They say an estimated 3.5 million adults of voting age have been naturalized in the U.S. since the 2020 election, according to data from the U.S. Immigration Policy Center at the University of California, San Diego, with over a third from Asia, followed closely by North and Central America, and nearly 11% from Africa. New citizen voters are a group that advocates say could wield political power in the presidential race, especially in key swing states with sizable migrant populations and where just a small portion of votes can determine a winner. That said, with lower levels of recorded turnout compared to U.S.-born voters, challenges remain in getting new citizens to show up to the polls. I'm not sure if this is a population that thinks of itself as we're a block of voters in the way we oftentimes talk about Latino voters or black voters or Asian voters, said Mark Hugo Lopez, director of Race and Ethnicity Center at Pew Research Group. But it is a notably growing group. Well, the issue is it's a different group of people. People from Asia, people from Africa, people from Mexico or Central America, they're not unified. They're not meeting together and talking about voting and their influence. But they do vote. I'd like to jump over to my good friend ChatGPT for a series of questions that I'd like you to see. First, I asked our good friend, how many new citizens get naturalized each year? They say, well, in 2023, it was 878,500. The number is part of a trend in recent years where naturalizations have increased after a drop during COVID-19. 2022 saw 969,000, nearly 1 million people. 2019, it was 843,000. And so I said, all right, let's break this down. Give me a list. In 2020, 625K, 2019 was 843K, 756, 707, 753. Suffice it to say, it's fairly average around 700 to 750,000 people per year. In the last 4 years, it's been a bit higher than that, at around 8 or 900. So there's been an increase. In 2008, we saw 1 million new citizens. In 1996, we also saw 1 million new citizens. In 2021, it was 800. 2022 was 967. 2023 was 878. I'm showing you this to say it is not that we are seeing a dramatic increase. We're seeing an increase a little bit, but it is fairly average that we bring in nearly 1 million new citizens every single year. ChatGPT says, searched 4 sites: Pew Research Center, KFF LA Times Survey of Immigrants. New citizens, newly naturalized, favor the Democratic Party. 56% voted for Joe Biden, while 29% supported Donald Trump. Shadow campaign. Perhaps this is why they have millions pouring through the southern border. Joe Biden is going to find a path towards citizenship for them. The first step. Now, I don't know that something like this could be done in 5 months, so maybe not. But here's what I see. 350,000 asylum cases terminated. So these people are just in limbo. With their case being terminated, how many of them are going to now seek permanent citizenship, permanent residency or citizenship? How many of them will go for a driver's license? The city will give them one because they don't know or care or check. And then how many of these people will be accidentally registered to vote? I see dark days, my friends. I see dark days indeed. Now, there's a lot of good news on the horizon. Donald Trump raising tons of money. Those things are tremendous. And we'll see if he can win. But I will tell you this. If citizens of this country do not take this election seriously, I don't know that they will have a country in the next 4 years. This trend that we are seeing with mass amnesty and mass illegal immigration means that 4 years from now, the likelihood that you as an American citizen have a majority in your own nation is dropping dramatically. That's right. The analogy that I often like to use is, you have a house and you have a roommate. And then one day your roommate asks if his buddy Jim can sleep on the couch. And you're like, oh, I don't know, man. Like, we don't got a lot of room. And he's like, come on, I'll let him crash here for a little bit. He's got nowhere to go, you know. His wife is screaming at him, and you know, he needs to find refuge somewhere away from her. So you say, okay, fine. You say, all right, I agree. We'll let it happen. You say, okay, great. Then a day later, you know, Jim and your roommate are sitting there, and another dude walks in, and he's playing video games. Like, who's this? Like, oh, he lives here now. And you go, what do you mean he lives here now? It's like, well, we said he could live here. No, I say no to that. And they go, okay, we'll put it to a vote. All in favor of new guy living here? Jim and your roommate raise their hand, and you go, hey, whoa, he's a guest. And you go, no, you said he could stay here. He lives here, now he gets a vote. And now you are outvoted. New homie now sits there. Now it's 3 against 1. What do you want for dinner? I want pizza. We all want wings. Can we get both? No, 3 against 1. Another guy shows up. He's going to sleep in your bed. No, I say no to that. Doesn't matter. 3 against 1. Now he lives here. Now it's 4 against 1. This is the path the United States is going. If we keep allowing non-citizens to come into this country with no test and no desire to be American, just to they love to go Ellis Island style immigration. Yeah, back then the migrants that were coming here wanted to be American. These migrants don't. They want to be in America. There's a big difference. Allowing anyone into the tunes of I'm in favor of immigration too. We do a legitimate immigration where people come to the border, file the paperwork, wait their turn, get integrated properly, find jobs, learn the language. Fantastic. Brain drain. We take the best people from all around the world. We say you can come be here. What they're doing now is they're saying anyone, literally anyone can come. And now we got this report out of New York. an illegal immigrant from Venezuela shot 2 cops. Yeah. And Michael Rappaport is like, Trump was convicted. He's off the table now. Are you insane, dude? I think so. That dude's going to be voting for Trump. Ain't nobody falling for that. You will not have a country, and I don't know if this country can last another 4 years. 4 years from now, if we add another 5 million illegal immigrants, I don't know. You know, look, every year new citizens are added, and those are Democrat voters. That's what the data shows. So Donald Trump, who represents the interests of the working class in this country and not of the foreigner, is losing. New citizen comes here. Donald Trump says this country should be for America. And what do we find? 56% say no way. I'm voting Democrat. Why? Because Democrats say we're going to give you free stuff and we're going to give your family free stuff. We want to bring your family here. That's what they want. So I got to tell you, Biden's plan, it feels like the shadow campaign is the long con. Maybe they know Donald Trump will win come November. And their attitude is, we will paralyze him. He will be unable politically to do anything. And then once his term is up, this country flips never again to be allowed to be populist like Donald Trump. So Trump says we have to have the largest mass deportation ever seen. Local police will be doing it. It's worrisome. How do you pull that off? We got a lot of news from the weekend and a lot more news coming up. Fauci's going to be testifying, so I'll wrap it up there. Next segment is coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.